Did you know that 181 million people visit zoos on a yearly basis in the US? Every year, 181 million people. That is over the amount of the citizens in Mexico and in Russia. Let that sink in. 181 million people. That's more than the citizens, Mexico and Russia. Now I know that the U.S. hold a huge chunk of the population at a whopping 300 billion people. No, million people, sorry. That is a huge chunk of individuals. Now, that leads to my question, are zoos humane? Should we be supporting zoos? But it also makes me think, should we be supporting huge organizations such as Disney and SeaWorld, which they both contain parks that include animals? Are they being treated fair? Are animals in zoos being treated fair? The answer is no. This topic is quite delicate because on one side of the spectrum, people believe that animals at zoos are being treated fairly and that they have a very good life going for them. And there's people like me who do not believe in that. I believe that people or animals in zoos are not being treated fairly. I believe that they are in too small of enclosures, they are not being treated right, and they don't have enough space to grow or to just live. Think about all the zoos you've been to in your lifetime. Think of all the enclosures. You can see all of the walls. It's a very small enclosure. It's not big enough. Think about yourself. You need a large room for yourself, for your brain to grow, for you to grow. Think about yourself being locked in a car now. And that's where you live now. You're stuck in this car for your entire life. And that's it. It's very cramped. No one's having a good time. That's what it's like for these animals to be in their enclosures. The only source of basically interaction they have are with people through glass. They don't have any other little animal buddies. And in the wilderness, they typically do. But it also makes you think, what are some side effects from being trapped in these enclosures? Being trapped in these enclosures, it can cause depression, shortened lifespans, which I think is the most disturbing part of this, is that these animals have shortened lifespans just for being locked in this little glass cage. There is behavioral effects. They don't act the same. They'll become more aggressive, less interested, depressed. This isn't what animals should be living like or should be feeling like. Now, you might be wondering, how can we change a $24 billion industry? I can tell you how we can change it. Now, I live in Wasilla. We don't have any zoos out here, but where we do have a zoo is in Anchorage. I would write to my Anchorage elected official. I would tell them the side effects and the education behind how bad zoos are for these animals. I would also stop visiting zoos that don't have a stamp of approval from and I quote, independent animal welfare organizations. Those organizations will give you the stamp of approval, basically saying these zoos are humane, they have the correct enclosures, food, resources, climate. That's what we need. Those are what those animals need. I would stop visiting those zoos and start visiting sanctuaries. I have visited multiple sanctuaries, one in Sarasota, Florida. It is a beautiful sanctuary. It lets the animals roam free, including all of the birds, the flamingos and peacocks and parrots. They go wherever they want. They hang out wherever they want to go. You're not allowed to touch them, but you are allowed to take pictures of them and see them. I think that is a healthy way for those animals to get exercise and to interact with other people without being bothered. You can also educate your family, friends, and community. This is important because a lot of people travel out of the state of Alaska because it's Alaska. People want to get out. You can tell them, being like, hey, you do not want to go to any of these zoos that don't have this stamp of approval because they're not humane. After creating such changes in this billion-dollar industry, let's look ahead. We will be seeing environment enrichment. Certain animals need like vines, trees, and certain types of ground, basically like mulch, sand, Like, for example, turtles, they need sand, they need dunes. Basically, grass, all of that good stuff. Animals need that to have their environment. It's almost like trying to recreate what's actually outside where they usually originate from. I feel that zoos in Alaska specifically, but also in the other states, should be working on preserving their local species. A lot of local species are going extinct, and instead of focusing on other states' animals where they originate from, we should be focusing on our state's animals and our land's animals that are going extinct. We need to work on preserving our species. We need to create larger spaces. We will see larger spaces for these animals, which is really needed. And with this topic, we've learned that zoos aren't very humane. They are designed for the people, not the animals, which is truly heinous, I think. Then there are ways we can make changes in these zoos. You can help make these changes by contacting elected officials and educating them. You can also by doing this by not going to zoos or going to ones that don't have that stamp of approval from animal organizations. Make sure just to visit sanctuaries. They're also very good. Most of them are nonprofit, by the way. And my favorite quote from this entire thing would be, "Wild animals never kill for sport. Man is the only one whom the torture and death of his fellow creatures is amusing in itself." It's from James A. Freund, and a lot of this came from Sentient Media. They contain so much more information than I could give you, and please do look at their page. They have many different medias for you to look at, and it has so much more information that I think will really help change your view on zoos and everything around that. You should also check out the AZA. I didn't want to get that wrong. AZA is one of the best pages I have ever visited. It is clean, it is concise. Please do check it out. But yeah, or the Smithsonian's National Zoo. That holds a lot on animal enrichment. But yes, that is it for my persuasive speech. Thank you so much for your time.